The cabin at Loon Lake, this happened back in 2017, just outside a little place called Loon Lake, Minnesota. My cousin Evan owns a lakeside property there, one of those old school cabins that's been passed down in the family. I'd never been there myself until that summer, when he decided to throw a small 4th of July weekend get-together. You know, friends, fireworks, grilling, the usual. We were all in our mid-20s back then. No kids, no real obligations, just a bunch of old friends looking to drink, float on the water, and make some dumb memories. Evan invited me and 3 of our high school buddies, Tyler, Nate, and Chris. 5 guys, one long weekend, in a cabin on a private lake with no cell service. Sounds like a setup for a B-movie, right? Anyway, we got there Friday afternoon. I remember the drive felt endless. The last 40 miles or so were nothing but thick pine woods and gravel roads. No signs, no houses. Just trees and deer. The lake finally opened up around a sharp curve in the road, and sure enough, there was Evans. Place a faded red cabin with a warped deck and a rickety little dock poking out into the water. It was way more rustic than I'd pictured, but also kind of perfect. We settled in pretty quickly. Evan had stocked the place with beer and food, and we wasted no time firing up the grill. There was music, stupid jokes, a couple of poorly timed cannonballs into the freezing lake. All in all, it was exactly the kind of chaos I'd expected. But things started to get weird later that night, and I mean really weird. We were sitting out on the deck around midnight. Most of us were buzzed, staring up at the stars. There were no other cabins in sight, no other lights across the water, just total stillness. I remember saying something about how dark the lake looked, like it just swallowed light. When Nate, the most skeptical guy in our group, casually dropped a bomb, he said, "You guys know about the drownings, right?" I laughed. I thought he was messing with us, but he was dead serious. Turns out, 3 people had drowned in Loon Lake. Over the past few years, all on or around the 4th of July, the weird part? None of their bodies were found. Not a single one. We all got quiet after that. Evan admitted he'd heard similar stories, but chalked it up to small-town rumors. Still, something about the way Nate said it stuck with me. It wasn't a punchline. It felt like a warning. Anyway, we eventually went inside. Tyler and Chris passed out on the couch. Nate took the guest room. Evan and I were supposed to crash upstairs in the loft, but I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing things, soft splashes, like someone walking through shallow water. Thought maybe a deer or a raccoon had wandered onto the dock. But then I heard wood creaking, like weight being put on it, like someone walking slowly across the boards. I got up and looked out the loft window. I couldn't see the dock from there, but I could see the lake. And I swear to God, there was a figure standing in the water, waist deep, not moving. No flashlight, no boat nearby, just a person, still as stone. I thought about waking Evan, but I didn't want to sound crazy. I just watched for a while. And after a few minutes, the figure slowly sank, straight down like they were being pulled under. No splashing. No struggle. Just gone. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next morning I tried to tell the guys, but they brushed it off. Evan said I was probably still drunk. Nate made some joke about lake ghosts. But I know what I saw. It wasn't a shadow or a trick. Of the light, someone was out there. Later that afternoon, we took the canoe out. I didn't want to, but Evan insisted. We paddled toward the center of the lake where it was deepest. I swear, the moment we hit the middle, my stomach turned. Like motion sickness, but sharper. Tyler said the same thing. Nate, too. It was like this pressure building in our heads. It's almost like a migraine. Chris started getting nauseous and begged to turn around. That's when we noticed something. The water ... wasn't right. It looked darker, thicker, like oil. Evan reached over the side to splash some water on his face and immediately pulled his hand back, yelling. His whole palm was red and blistering. Like a burn, but from cold, not heat. We booked it back to shore. Once we got there, Evan's hand looked frostbitten, but there was no ice in the water. No logical reason for it. Bandaged him up and decided not to swim anymore. The vibe had completely shifted. That night, things got worse. We heard knocking. It started around 1 a.m., just soft tapping at the back door. We froze. Tyler whispered, "Is someone out there?" But none of us moved. Then came a second knock, louder this time, then another at the front. Like two people circling the cabin, Evan grabbed his old shotgun, purely for bears, he claimed, and slowly opened the back door. No one, just the wind. But when we turned back to the front, there were wet footprints on the deck, not shoe prints. Bare feet, and small like a child's, they led from the lake to the door and stopped. We followed them with our eyes, until they vanished at the threshold. No retreating prints, no other sign. Tyler wanted to leave right then. Chris was already throwing stuff in a bag. But Evan insisted we wait until morning, said it was probably just some kids from town messing around. Nate didn't believe that for a second. And neither did I, but we stayed, and we shouldn't have. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of water dripping inside the cabin. I walked to the kitchen. Nothing. Checked the bathroom. Nothing, but when I stepped into the living room, my feet hit something cold. The floor was soaked. There was water everywhere, like someone had dumped buckets of lake water straight through the ceiling. I followed the puddles to the window and looked outside. And what I saw made my blood freeze. There were people in the lake, dozens of them, standing, staring, not moving, not blinking, just watching the cabin, their heads barely above water, like they'd risen from the bottom to see us. I backed away and tripped. Hit the floor hard. The noise woke the others. But when they came running, the lake was empty again. Nothing but ripples. We packed up at dawn. Didn't even stay for breakfast. Just threw everything in the truck and left. Evan tried to laugh it off, but no one was smiling. A week later, he called to tell me the cabin had flooded. No storms, no burst pipes, just water all over the floors. Like it rose up from underneath. He hasn't gone back since. Neither have I. And every year, when the 4th of July rolls around, I think about that lake. It's about the bodies that were never found. And I wonder how many more people will vanish before anyone believes the stories are true. The man in the cornfield, this happened in 2014 in a tiny town called Ashton, Nebraska. I was 19 at the time and visiting my grandparents' farm for the 4th of July weekend. I used to love going out there as a kid, big skies, quiet fields, a kind of peace I never found in the city. But after that summer, I stopped visiting. Completely. There are things you can unsee. But the feeling of being watched when you know you're alone, it stays with you. Let me explain. My cousins and I were all there for the holiday. My grandma loved to throw big backyard cookouts with potato salad, burgers, iced tea, the whole deal. So once it got dark, the adults would bring out lawn chairs, and we'd set off fireworks in the open field behind the barn. No neighbors for miles, just cornfields stretching into the dark. That year was no different. We'd been lighting sparklers and bottle rockets all evening. I remember feeling full, happy, a little tired from the sun. My cousin Ben and I were 2 years apart and inseparable back then. Around 10:30, he asked if I wanted to check out the old grain silo. It was maybe a quarter mile out from the property line, just past the fence at the edge of the corn. There was nothing particularly interesting about it. Just something to do, you know how teenage boredom is. So we grabbed 2 flashlights and told my grandma we were going to walk around a bit. The night was pitch black by then, no streetlights out there. It's just moonlight and stars and the soft, constant hum of insects. We walked past the barn, through the clearing, and toward the edge of the field. As soon as we stepped off the property and into the corn, the air changed. It felt colder. Still humid, but colder. And quiet. Too quiet. The kind of silence that starts to feel heavy, like pressure in your ears. Ben noticed it too. He stopped and said, "Do you hear that?" I didn't. I didn't hear anything, and that was the problem. The crickets, the frogs, even the wind through the stalks, all gone. It was like something had turned off the sound. Still, we kept going. We're young, not stupid, but curious. We figured maybe a coyote or something had scared the animals off. but we didn't see any movement, just row after row of corn. About halfway to the silo, Ben's flashlight started flickering. I thought he was messing with me until mine did. The same thing, short, weak flashes, and blackness. We both stopped walking. That's when we heard it, a voice, not shouting, not whispering. Just a soft, deliberate voice saying, "You boys aren't supposed to be out here." We spun around. Nothing. No one. Just endless corn and the black outline of the barn far behind us. Ben called out, "Who's there?" "What?" But no answer. Came only that heavy silence. Then, maybe 10 feet to our right, we heard rustling. I turned my light back on, flickered, caught a brief glimpse of shape. A tall figure standing completely still between the corn stalks. I couldn't see its face, only that it was unnaturally tall, like 7 feet or more, their arms that hung too low, almost to its knees. I blinked, and it was gone. Ben grabbed my sleeve and whispered, "We need to go now." Turned and walked. Fast, not quite running, but close. Every so often, I'd hear the corn shift behind us. Not wind. Something moving, mirroring us, keeping pace. We were maybe 20 yards from the clearing when we heard the voice again, louder this time, closer. "Don't. Turn around," that voice. I still hear it sometimes in dreams. It wasn't angry or aggressive. It was worse. Calm. Like a parent correcting a child. We didn't turn around. We didn't speak. We just ran. We broke through the edge of the field and didn't stop until we reached the house. A grandma saw our faces and knew something was wrong. She asked, "What happened?" And Ben said, "We saw someone in the field." My uncle heard that and grabbed his shotgun. He and my dad went out there with flashlights. They were gone about 20 minutes before coming back empty-handed. No tracks, no footprints. No sign anyone had been there, but we knew what we saw. Ben wanted to go home the next day. I didn't blame him, but the story doesn't end there. That night after everyone had gone to bed, I woke up to tapping on the window light. Repetitive, measured. My bedroom at the farmhouse faced the backyard. Second story. No balcony, no ladder. Just a bare wall and glass window. I sat up in bed and listened. Tap, tap, tap. I got out of bed and walked to the window, pulling the curtain back just a little, and I swear to you, there was a face looking in, not pressed up against the glass. Not smiling, just watching. Pale, blank, eyes too large and wide. No emotion, no color. Just white skin, black eyes, and a mouth that never moved. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I must have stood there for at least a full minute, just staring. Then it blinked. One slow, deliberate blink. I dropped the curtain and backed away from the window. I didn't scream. I don't know why. Something told me not to. The next morning, the window had no smudges, no footprints on the grass below. Nothing. Everyone acted normal. Like nothing had happened. But I didn't sleep the rest of the weekend. When I got home, I told my mom what happened. She got really quiet, and she said something I'll never forget. "Your uncle used to say he saw someone in the corn, too. When he was little, everyone thought he was making it up." I asked her what he saw. She wouldn't say. Just that he had nightmares for years and eventually stopped visiting altogether. I haven't been back to Ashton since. Ben and I still talk sometimes, and we both remember that night exactly the same way. We don't exaggerate it. We don't joke about it. We just remember. The last thing I'll say is this. About a year later, I looked up local legends in the area. I found a forum post about something called the Watcher of the Corn. Supposedly, it's an old folk tale. It's a spirit or entity that watches those who enter sacred land at the wrong time, especially around solstice or celebration days. Guess what day was mentioned in the post? Most active sightings reported on or around July 4th. Take that for what you will. All know is we weren't alone in that field, and someone, something, didn't want us there.